Oh, it's just everywhere. You can't even get up the steps. Just hoardings and papers and letters and... Ugh. Even through the mask. Stinks.
Becoming one of Britain's 2 million private landlords can sometimes mean taking on a whole lot more than just bricks and mortar. 3 years ago, Leslie Ann spent £30,000 buying the cottage next door to her riverside home. But she's not been able to set foot in it since. The property was cheap because it came with a long-term resident, known as a protected tenant, paying a controlled rent.
I was a neighbour for 7 years and landlord for just over 3 years. She moved in February 1983, so she's actually been a tenant in the property for nearly 34 years.
Leslie, a retired social worker, had serious concerns about her tenants' welfare and the conditions she was living in.
She was a hoarder. Because of her hoarding mental health issues, she wouldn't sort of engage in any sort of form of conversation.
Years spent trying to get her tenant and neighbour help proved fruitless.
She was very articulate. She was very forthright. She was at times very aggressive. So there was a personality there that meant that she could actually scare people off. She denied that she needed help.
4 months ago, Leslie Ann learnt that the tenant had been taken to hospital and tragically had died. She was just 61 years old. Eviction specialist Paul Champlina has been helping her with this unusual case. They had to get a document called a deed of surrender from the court before being granted access.
It's quite incredible that if a tenant passes away and the property couldn't be passed on to someone else and to carry on the tenancy, we still couldn't get possession. We still had to pursue it through the courts.
The late tenant was an extreme hoarder, so Leslie fears what she and Paul will find inside today.
When you've been told you need protective clothing, you know it's going to be pretty grim. Leanne, we finally meet. How are you after all this time?
My relationship with the tenant was really strained. I'd never actually been allowed to gain access inside the property.
She was reclusive, like she was a hoarder, wasn't she?
Severe hoarder.
Really? The last time anyone has been inside, either yourself or Ian, was in 2015?
Yep.
Okay, right. The next stage is what's in there and how do you deal with it?
Leslie Ann's friend and builder, Ian, is joining the inspection. To avoid the risk of infection, protective clothing is a must.
I'm ready. I don't know what I'm ready for, but I'm ready. This was a really unique and very strange case because it wasn't an eviction. It was us to take formal possession of the property. But God knows what's behind that door. Right, oh God. Oh dear. It's horrendous.
This is the first time in 3 years that Leslie has seen inside her property.
Oh my God. Perfect cooker. Oh my God, that is so dangerous. Yeah. So she never cooked? Obviously.
No.
When I walked into that property, I was just flabbergasted of how someone could actually live like that. So where does she sleep?
She slept for nearly a year in the living room.
God, how can someone live like this?
I've seen hoarding sort of in my social work career, but not the extent of the severity of the hoarding. We were actually shocked and horrified what we were finding.
The smell is absolutely unbearable. The worst property I've ever been in. in 25, 27 years.
It's all too much for Leslie Ann, who has to leave.
To me, it smells of death, you know?
The woman, she was only 61, she wasn't an elderly lady. It's just really, really tragic, isn't it, how people have got themselves into. She literally had a little pathway and she was sitting there. So tragic. This is upsetting because you know that someone was dying in that chair. Someone's rubbish is someone else's belongings. You know, these are all her personal belongings.
Paul needs to inspect the whole cottage, but that's easier said than done.
Everywhere you walked, you thought something was going to fall, or you thought you were going to put your hand through something. This is so dangerous, you can put your foot through it. Well, I don't even know, where's the stairs? Oh, right. That's how bad it is, I don't even know where the stairs are to go upstairs.
The upper floor is so cluttered, even the deceased tenant had stopped using it.
Oh my God. Let me put my torch on. This is her bedroom. She hadn't been up there for years.
The ceiling's all collapsed.
Oh my God. Are we brave enough to open the fridge? Let's go for it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I need to get a bit of fresh air. Oh.
It's just so distressing.
No.
You can smell it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. It's just so tragic that someone can live.
She was dying.
I think what's really hard to understand is someone could just live there, sleep there, stay there 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so distressing and sad. No interaction with anyone else. I
No.
mean, just can you imagine just being a person, you can't even walk 5 yards.
The only regret is that I couldn't help her, I couldn't save her, you know, that's truthfully sort of, that's the only regret, sort of, you know.
Leslie's next challenge will be cleaning out the cottage and discovering exactly what state the building is in.
The carpet absolutely covered with rats' feces. Rubbish bags piled high, a decomposing mouse in amongst all that. And underneath the settee, there was like sort of human sort of toilet tissue paper, food, and it had all been stuffed underneath.
Leslie Ann discovered that her tenant's hoarding problem extended to far more than just junk.
Although this is still stacked up, this is all sort of stuff that came out from the bathroom. It's all brand new stuff. Brand new boots and shoes and everything. We've given to the charity sort of probably about 50 pairs of as well, on top.
Now that the rubbish has gone, Leslie Ann can see the true state of her property.
It's the electrics, it's the rot. We uncovered some seriously dodgy wiring sort of, and switches. I knew it was bad, but sort of I didn't anticipate any of this.
Worse was to come. It turns out the cottage is no longer structurally sound.
There's so much rot in all the joists, in the floorboards, the windows, the roof, and it's literally slipping into the river. The whole thing sort of is collapsing. Lucky that that hasn't collapsed, truthfully, because if that collapses, what you've got is then sort of you've got the whole roof. It's beyond repair, sort of. It's not even disrepair, it's beyond repair, full stop. Yeah, there's been a few tears. There are 3 victims in this case. There was the tenant, there was me as a landlord, and the 3rd victim is the property. It was an 18th century, beautiful 2-bedroom cottage. Sad to see sort of, you know, sort of such a a waste of a property. So a bit of history has gone.